Is this happening to you? Then you're in the right place for video game training. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to defeat Ganondorf on the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, so there's 4 main phases to this fight, and it can be quite tricky. We're going to be using the easiest and the cheesiest strategy to take him out, which is a combination of rocket shields, arrows, bullet time, and Gibdo bones. By using this strategy, you can absolutely obliterate his health bar in seconds. I'll also be throwing down some extra hints and tips when we get to phase 3 of the fight, and I'll show you where you can get infinite Zonai rockets for free. As soon as the fight starts, hold block with your rocket shield. This will shoot you up into the air. Take aim with your bow. Attach some Gibdo bones if you do have them for some extra damage. If you have a multi-shot bow, then use one of those as well. Just fire a few of these arrow shots into his face, and that's phase 1 done in seconds. Don't worry too much if you don't have the Gibdo bones or a multi-shot bow. You can still defeat him using this strategy. It just takes more arrow shots to do it. Next, I'll show you where a shrine is where we can get infinite Zonai rockets for free. The rockets just keep spawning in over and over again. This shrine is located over here on the map, and it's quite close to the Lucky Clover Gazette. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think the shrine's name is pronounced Arumawak. As soon as you head into the shrine, look to your right hand side. You'll see 2 rockets, and you can just keep fusing these rockets to your shields over and over again. After you fuse the rocket to your shield, just give it a few seconds and another rocket will spawn back in. Keep doing this until you've got as many rocket shields as you can carry. Phase 2, we just do exactly the same thing. Switch over to another rocket shield, hold down block, pop yourself up into the air, take aim with your bow, fire the Gibdo bone arrows into his face again, and once again this will absolutely destroy his health. That's phase 2 done. In phase 3, things can become a little bit more difficult. In this phase, he has the ability to actually block the arrow shots, which can be a problem, but we can actually just use the same strategy. The only catch is in this phase is that you have to fire the shots into his face whilst he's occupied by doing some kind of attack or animation. So if he's powering up to do an attack, this is a great time to use your rocket shield and shoot those Gibdo bones into his face again. Or if he's doing that kind of forward rush towards you, you can sometimes get a few shots into his face then as well. But if he's not in the middle of an attack or an animation, then what he'll do is basically just put his hand up and block the attacks. So you have to try and put these arrow shots in at very specific times. Sometimes what you can do is if he's rushing towards you and you're shooting arrows into his face, he might actually stop rushing towards you and then just go into blocking the arrows instead. So just be aware of that and watch out for it. If he has gone into the mode where he's blocking your arrows with his hand, then at that point stop trying to shoot arrows into his face, come back down to the ground and look out for a different window of opportunity to get your shots in. But essentially the main thing that you want to be doing here is just looking out for him starting up some kind of attack animation. That's when you want to be using your rocket shield, because that will then give us the window of opportunity that we need to shoot a bunch of Gibdo arrows into his face. If you do have some Zonai rocket devices and you completely run out of rocket shields, you can throw some Zonai rockets onto the floor and then refuse them up onto your shields. It can be a little bit tricky to do, but it is possible. You could also use the steering stick trick here as well if you want to. You can just throw a steering stick down on the floor, then go press on the steering stick to grab it, then press jump. This will kind of launch you up into the air off the steering stick. Then take aim with your bow, and you've got quite a lot of bullet time here, so you could fire off quite a lot of arrows. Then when you land back down on the floor, you can actually go back and grab the steering stick and repeat this trick over and over again. And just in case you run out of rockets, Gibdo bones or arrows completely, I'll throw down some extra tips. One of the main things to mention in this fight is that the red gloom attacks can actually be reflected back at Ganondorf and deal damage to him. You can only do this using the Master Sword. So if you do see those gloom attacks coming towards you, most of the time the best way to reflect these back is to use a charged spin attack. For example, there's an attack where he takes out his bow and then aims it at you, and loads of gloom will come towards you. All you've got to do is stand in the middle of that and then hold down your charged attack and let the spin go as the gloom gets quite close towards you. This will reflect all of the gloom back into Ganondorf, and it will do a massive amount of damage to him. With this attack, after you have reflected the initial wave of gloom back at Ganondorf, he will also shoot 3 arrows at you as well. So just be prepared for that and move out of the way or reflect those arrows back. I usually find it easiest just to move out of the way and avoid those arrow shots. With a lot of his normal melee attacks, you can parry them or you can jump out of the way and then flurry rush them. But if you're having trouble timing the parries and the flurry rushes, the best advice that I can give you is just hold up a shield. Blocking with a shield will just tank the entire hit. So by just holding up a shield, you don't really have to worry about about flurry rushes or parries. If you are going to try to evade his attacks and get the flurry rushes, just keep in mind specifically with his sword attacks. One of his sword attacks will swing downwards vertically, and to evade this one you'll need to jump to your left or right, and his other sword attack will swing horizontally across, and to evade this one you'll need to jump backwards. So just keep an eye out for the way that his sword is lined up, and then be prepared to evade accordingly. The main takeaway from phase 3 of this fight is essentially use the Master Sword to reflect the gloom back at Ganondorf, and if you're going to be using the rocket shield strategy, just make sure to keep your eye out for his attack animation starting up. That's the time where you want to be using your rocket shield, pop yourself up into the air, whip out your Gibdo bones and your arrows, get your headshots in, and this will absolutely obliterate his health in seconds. I would also recommend bringing in some sunny type meals into this fight, the meals that restore hearts lost to gloom, because you can take quite a lot of gloom damage in this fight. Any meals cooked with Sundelions will give you this effect, or you could also cook meals with sun pumpkins from Hateno village. As far as I can tell, the game doesn't allow you to fast travel away from the fight once you're in it, so if you do want to escape and back up away from this fight, your best bet is probably to go to your saved games and load up one of the recent autosaves. So if you're wanting to go back and stock up on rockets, shields, sunny meals, weapons and arrows, then loading up one of your recent autosaves is probably your best option. Moving on to phase 4, basically all we have to do is dive on down and look for these weak points on the dragon's body, then destroy them and it will shoot you back up into the air again. After you've smashed all the weak points on the body, the final weak point will be revealed on the dragon's head. Smash that last weak point and then GG, you've just defeated Ganondorf. One tip that I will give in this final phase of the fight, if you do have the glider suit, then use that. The glider suit lets you cover way more distance as you're diving down, and it gives you a lot more control and maneuverability of Link, so it just makes it a lot easier to avoid the dragon's attacks, as well as making it easier to get to those weak points. Remember your video game training and you'll be saving Hyrule in no time. If you did enjoy this video, I'd massively appreciate it if you pop it a like. That would help me out so much. And if you want to see more video game guides, hints, tips and tricks from me, then press that subscribe button. Thank you very much if you do. Other than that, thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.